How do you know how much a house is going to sell for? What should your walkaway number be? Understanding how to evaluate a property is the single most important thing you need to know as a first home buyer to make sure that you don't overpay and secure the right property. So in this video, we're going to be showing you the 5 steps that you need to cover to find out what's the price. So my name's Tristan Larkin and I'm here with James Rankin and you are watching Buy Property Now. So James, how you doing?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good. So step 1, this is the property that we found here, 28 Saffron Avenue in Officer. So step 1 of the 5-step process is look at the quoted range, and if you're in Victoria, the statement of information.
Yeah, so we're a little bit lucky in Australia that we have to have an SOI, like a statement of information, from the agent. So they have to produce this. If you're in another state, it'll generally say contact agent here. That's fine. You're just going to have to pick up the phone and call these agents to understand what the price is or what the range is. So don't get confused in what the price is and what the agent is quoting it at, because that's what we're going to work out today.
So then step 2 is if you do have the statement of information, this can be helpful, but it's compare apples with apples. You need to make sure that you're looking at properties that are in a similar area and a similar quality and hopefully a similar age before you can start comparing. So how would you go about doing that?
I've actually got an apple and an orange. So yeah, you want to compare apples with apples, not apples and oranges, right? Because this will just lead you down the garden path and you won't actually be able to assess it properly. If you're comparing apples with apples, and I know that seems a little funny, especially with my little prop here, but the apples with apples scenario just means that you want to take a house and a house, or a 3-bedroom versus a 3-bedroom, a double story versus a double story, and so on, right? Like you just want to pick those properties that are very, very similar. So how do we do that? So all we want to do is just go to realestate.com and hit the sold button. And when we hit the sold button, we're looking in Officer, we'll flick search, and we know the price point. So, we're circa 800,000. So I'm just going to make this 800,000, and it'll probably be over that a little bit in just the realestate.com algorithms. So let's do that. And then max bedrooms 4, min bedrooms 4 as well. So that just gives you sets the parameter, and I'll hit search on that. Now, the other thing that I want to do, so this is a list, but I want to go to map. So I know that this property is in this little pocket here, just over the train line. So it's in this little pocket. So I can zoom in a little bit further. I've still got, what have we got? Nearly 200 properties, 174 properties to compare that with. That's with these parameters in. So once I've got that, then I just hit list. So that'll pull in all the information that I've just mapped out there. And then you want to go newest to oldest, which I've already got set there. And then we're having a look at this square meters. So back on this property, it doesn't have it listed, but what you can do is go to maps. So this is just a quick little tool. If you can't find it, just go to Google Maps and you can measure out roughly what that block is. You might want to flick it over to layers or to satellite. Then you can see, if you go hit your mouse on the right, you can see the boundaries roughly. Again, this is just getting you a rough amount. So it's about I would say it's a 448 because that's a standard size block through here. So it's, 450 odd square meters. So it's 110 odd square meters bigger than that one. This is probably more the one that I'd be comparing it to. So I'd open that up in another tab. That one looks like a smaller block. Maybe it's not. Yeah, slightly smaller block. But let's have a look at that one. 680, small block. Same size block. Okay, cool. So that gives us 3, and we're apples with apples, right? If I look back at this one, they're all pretty similar. So we've got those 3 there that all look really, really similar. So I'm going to have a look at this one, 740, which only sold, 2 weeks ago, and just look at it from a floor plan. So if I go back on this one, hopefully they've got a floor plan uploaded. So we've got master, you've got that porch, entryway, ensuite walk-in robe. You've got 2 basins as well, double car garage, lounge onto the kitchen, and then it flows onto the alfresco with an extended alfresco, media. So it's second living, doesn't have a door on it though. And bedroom, bedroom, bedroom. So there's no real separation for a second living. And then if I flick onto this one, we've got similar scenario, entry, very, very similar. It doesn't have the second basin in there though. Why I look at the second basin is for owner occ. Like, I know if I was buying with my partner, this house would almost get wiped off because it doesn't have a second basin. Bedroom. It's got a second living room, but you have to walk through it. And it would be, I don't know if it's got a door on it. It doesn't look like it's got a door on it there, but it's got some sort of separation from it. So look, I think these are actually pretty comparable. And then you've got that alfresco that hits out, and it's got a shed as well. So yeah, that extended alfresco is the same as the other one. So that's looking at that. In terms of an aerial perspective, I don't think there's anything much different from them. That's a train line there, so you've got a bit of distance. And if I look at this one, it's about the same. This one's actually a little bit closer from the train line. So this one's winning some points. 11 Dana is winning some points for me just in terms of where that sits. Knowing that these areas are all quite new, there's no power station or anything like that on them. Some have these little power stations that you'll see, those big cream boxes. It doesn't have one of those next to it or anything like that. So I wouldn't say that this has a disadvantage in location. And then if we have a look at the fit out, so this is sort of the last step. We're looking at the internals and the fit out. Pretty stock standard. I think I would be able to guess the builder on this floor plan as well. But yeah, very, very stock standard for that era. The undercover alfresco goes all the way through. It's not under the original house roofline, so this was added on. It's just a pergola, so the house would have ended here and then it continues on. But yeah, because that floor plan's so similar, this is an easy one to compare. Now, something to take note of here, it doesn't have these roofs aren't very tall. There should be a gap between there and and that window to give you some more height on your doors. And more height in your ceilings. I would say these are, there's a gap there. So I'd say they're probably 25, 50, which is 8.5 foot. Maybe they're 9 foot. Anyway, that front window might just be deceiving. Anyhow, let's have a look back at this one. So if we're looking at the fit out, it's pretty much the same. It's got 40 mil stone bench tops, but that's all artificial anyway. It's just a 40 mil edge. It's not actually 40 mil thick. Door handles are, relevant to that era. Wine fridge or wine stack over the fridge. Again, I think this is the same builder. They've just got different facades. This has got the double basin and a bit nicer ensuite versus this one.
It's a big tick of approval for you.
In terms of an owner rock, I think they're both pretty good. Like, double vanity aside, big deal. You can always add it in if it's a must-have. But in terms of side-by-side comparisons, I don't think you could find anything closer. Unless, and this is very surface level, guys. Like, I'm just looking at this very, very quickly. Like, we're sort of covering it off in 5 or 6 minutes. As an assessment, you still want to go out and walk through the properties. You want to have a look at them in the flesh to make sure that there's no anomalies there. But this one's selling at 740,000, and these guys wanting 750 to 800,000. I would say that that's a bit of an overquote, and this could be a bit of a change in the process for some of these agents out here. And look, Barry Plant, they're ahead of the game. I would say out here, they're one of the best agents. So these guys know their market inside and out, and they would be the first to switch. And what they could be doing is, we're so conditioned to thinking that the pricing has like everything's going to sell over the 800,000. Whereas they might have felt that because the media has conditioned people to think, no, now's the time to negotiate, they might be starting to bump their price up, knowing that it's going to get negotiated down. So that could be the play here.
Also, like fairly new on the market. So I've heard many agents recently saying that they're sort of quoting higher just to get listings and going backwards. I don't think that's what these guys would be doing, but it is something to be mindful of, especially in sort of dropping markets, that some agents will intentionally overquote just so that they can sort of promise that to the vendor, and then they'll say to them later on, oh, we haven't actually gotten feedback or any interest at this level, so we're going to need to reduce the quote later.
Yeah, exactly right. I'd be 100% checking, getting a building and pest inspection on this one to see if that's within code, because I don't think it is. But anyway, Tristan's exactly right. The agents will do that just to get listings and then condition the vendor down. It's not really a good way. They call it sort of like buying business, because they're saying, hey, we'll get you this number, but it's not really the number that they know it's going to sell for. So in terms of going back to the apples with apples, yeah, this is the perfect property. I know I found the other ones here, but I probably don't even need to go through those.
Yeah, it's probably as close as you're going to get. So that's step 2, is compare apples with apples. Make sure that you found the right property. Step 3 in the process, listing the pros and cons of each property compared to one another.
Yeah, so the pros and cons could be, for instance, that this doesn't have an alfresco that continues all the way through. That's under roofline. This one doesn't either, but it's got this one here. So it's got that one. It's got the deck. It's slightly more landscaped. So, it's got this little outdoor point. So yeah, because they're so comparable, like, I don't even think it's better landscape. This is, I reckon it's very, very comparable in terms of the other one that's been sold. So yeah, this is definitely, you'd be nitpicking on the differences between these two. If I was to have a look at one of these in terms of the differences, and what I was, if there were things or items that I would select to say that it's a point of difference and you could be a pro or a con, I would say this one's got a better front landscape than the one that we're looking at. If I go back to the start, that's very cheap and nasty in terms of what they've created. These guys have got exposed aggregate. They've got, a pretty well, a pretty good entrance in terms of what they've got. Like
the
these guys
and the
have done
decking
some,
is sort of nicely put together. It's very clean.
Yeah, and this one's had some updates to it as well. So, it actually is, apart from the quad flooring, it's got a skylight. It's got laminate bench tops though, so it's a bit of a downer there. It's got a built-in bar. This looks like it's got a proper second living as well. Like, this is awesome. So these are all pros that I would say you would tack onto the price of this particular property. So yeah, again, when we're trying to establish a point of difference between properties, you're searching for these anomalies, right? You're searching for these points of difference. Because these properties are so similar, let's just say, for argument's sake, that this had a way better outdoor area and it sold for $740. So what you need to do is establish roughly what that outdoor area is worth. Let's just say it's worth $20,000. And this property, which is the target property that we're looking at, doesn't have it. So essentially you're minusing $20,000 off that price. Now look, it might be $15,000. So, let's just say it's $725. That's pretty much where I would get to as a maximum. Unless there was something in there that I absolutely loved, I would probably stick to that, $720 to $725. That's where my number would sit. And that's how you can use pros and cons to get to a number, to work backwards from a sold property, and why we always focus on sold properties, not ones that are listed, because it's a guesstimate at that point.